USACE cleans up a lot of debris, and most of that debris is cleaned off the roadway. All of it is hauled away on a roadway. To protect our employees, contractors, and the general public, we must ensure traffic control requirements are taken seriously. USACE requires that the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, MUTCD, is followed, and this is referenced in our EM 385-1-1, the USACE Safety Manual. While traffic control seems like a complicated, technical topic, there are basic steps you can take to ensure traffic control has been implemented correctly. Let's take a look at one of the technical designs of traffic control in a two-way street. As you can see in this image, lane closure on a two-lane road with low traffic volumes are as follows. As you enter the work site, you will see a sign that says road work ahead. And then X amount of feet, depending on the miles per hour posted in that work area, is the next sign that will say 1 lane road ahead. As you progress into the work site, you will see a warning sign for a yield sign, and then you'll also see a yield sign. These distances are determined, again, based on the traffic flow and the miles per hour that the traffic is allowed to go. As you enter into the work site, you will see a 15-foot buffer zone, and then you'll start to see a taper zone of 50 to 100 feet. And then at the very end of the first cone, you will see a full buffer zone. It is optional, but the USACE Corps of Engineers will be looking for that buffer zone. In this image, you can see, whited out in the black and white striped area, the work zone. This is the area where your trucks would be loading debris, your flaggers, all those folks that are monitoring the work would stand. As you leave the work zone, you will see another buffer space, and then another 50 to 100 feet for your cones, tapering off as you enter back into the two-lane traffic. This image is just one example of the MUTCD traffic control lane closures that can be used and referenced during a response or recovery. In this image, you'll see an actual work site setup from Hurricane Sandy. You can see the box truck leaving the work zone and the cones that are set up there. You can see the tapering, and then you can also see where the truck is being loaded. This is a good example of a properly set up work site. As for the flaggers, they must use stop-and-go paddles and should always be in communication with each other. This is not a time to have a communication breakdown. In this image, you will see some samples of flaggers. You will see a stop-and-go paddle up in the left-hand corner. This is what we recommend. On the right-hand side, and these are only for emergency situations only, you will see an actual flagger with a flag. While in some situations this probably is adequate, as we get into more of the recovery situation and the debris removal, we require that our flaggers actually use stop-and-go paddles. Again, this is a great example and can be referenced in looking at your flaggers and looking at your job sites. Remember this, the higher the speed limit and the less visibility of the work area, for example, a sharp curve in the road just before coming upon a work crew, the further the signage needs to be apart. A rule of thumb is, if it doesn't look right, it's probably not. Drive through the work zones, beginning to end, and see how it works. If you find yourself coming upon a work crew too fast or with little notification, then you know it's not right. This is another area where your USACE safety professional can assist you if needed. One of the ground truth tests we use in safety for this activity is simply asking the question, is the traffic control effective? And do we see a visual evidence of this by simply watching the flow of traffic, the flaggers and their communication, and looking at the general setup? If the flagger looks like he or she has control of the vehicles and is looking at the drivers in the eye and moving confidently, that tells us the flagger is in control. In accordance with EM 385-1-1, flaggers must be trained according to the MUTCD and the State Department of Transportation, unless the requirements have been waived for that emergency, at which point training and certification, such as those provided by National Safety Council, is highly recommended. This comes into play when flaggers inevitably need a break and a substitute flagger has to step in. This individual also needs to be trained properly. As they say, when you gotta go, you gotta go. And this is not the time to pull a worker off a dozer and stick him in the middle of the road with traffic. We have found this in the past, or worse, no flagger at all because there was not a substitute available.